Welcome, 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 everybody. Thank you so much. Auric Vibe here with our beautiful Selena. We're going to try to do this on a semi regular basis. Yeah, I think that, okay, this is for Selena. And because Selena's in the house, we all have also
Thank you. Thank you.
have we also have that. So we kind of wanted to keep this organic. Just we had a couple minutes to talk, and we really want to keep this an organic conversation. And said, okay, well, what kind of questions maybe that we could kind of put forward to the collective? So I kind of have a few certifications under my belt. If you want to check that out on my website, auricvibe1111.com. It kind of lists everything out there. Stuff will be in the description below. But for Selena, I think it's really important for her to realize that her intuitive gifts, okay, and there's a couple of words that I'd like to try and avoid because of the stigma that's attached to them from several programmed groups. I'm just going to leave it that way. For things like psychics, readers, I'm not going to identify what kind of reader, but readers, and
Yeah.
not to confuse them with the large or the small, but we're talking about mediums. So those things are kind of like stigmatized, and I think that what Selena's got to offer is very deep, very intuitive. So
Thank
that's
you.
kind of what I would like to tag that as is intuitive. Everybody's got a level of intuition, but I think Selena's is on a completely different level. We're not going to get into what all that hokey pokey means, but so yeah, we kind of started talking about what what kind of questions do we want to ask that's going to be relevant for the collective because I get up, I go to work, I come home, and I'm more or less I'm snogged out. You have the availability on and off to really connect to what's going on. So what do you think is relative or relevant to the collective right now?
Well, I think one thing that is relative is how do we discern truth and how does it feel in your body whenever you hear something or you're reading something or a popular group, so to speak, maybe supporting something, and to you, it just doesn't sit right, you know? Because I know for me in the past, there's been definitely things that were popular in the mainstream narrative, not the mainstream narrative, but in the community overall, that I didn't necessarily resonate with. And I think that that's okay. And I think people need to be told that, like, no matter where you're at, as long if you're asking questions, like that's important and that's good. And there's no wrong questions to ask. Like you should be able to ask any question that you want. And if somebody makes you feel like you're not allowed to ask certain things, then that's probably not a person that you want to listen to. And
Yeah,
that's from
yeah.
my own personal experience, you know?
Yeah, and I know that somebody else says that are you really going to want to take, in relationships, are you really going to want to take marital advice from a guy who's single and been divorced 5 times?
Yeah, but I mean, I also think there's beauty in that also because, like, while that guy, his relationship may not have worked out necessarily, it doesn't mean that he doesn't have valuable input, you know? And I also feel like everybody brings something to the table. We all have a grain of truth within us that resonates and comes deep inside, like where our God spark is. And I think that in order for us to find out who we truly are, we have to start asking questions and we have to allow ourselves to be wrong because there's nothing wrong with being wrong. And what I see a lot in people is that they're so afraid to try because they don't want to be wrong. And there's nothing wrong with being wrong because we're all growing. It's all a process, you know, and
Yeah.
the only way that we can learn is from making mistakes,
Right,
honestly.
right. And learning is just half of it. And if someone doesn't agree with you and you are kind of having that fear factor involved with not being able to speak your mind, I think there's some value in that too, in that you're also going to be fearful of the backlash. So you might say something, but then again, there's some backlash that goes on.
Yeah, and I feel like I heard this quote one time, and it's basically like most people come to spirituality to hide, you know, and what spirituality really is, and like at its core is exposing yourself completely and allowing yourself to be vulnerable to the point where you can say, this is something I definitely have to work on. Oh, wait, this is also something I have to work on. And then it kind of like, as you are like delving deeper and deeper and you find your sense of identity, you're unraveling the things that confused you or made you feel like you were trapped in a box before, because in order to break out of that box, we have to start asking questions. And I feel like so many people today are so afraid of stepping out, and being themselves. And because like the more that we're able to question everything and even ourselves and allow ourselves to be wrong and allow ourselves to have doubts about this or that, like that's totally normal because that's where you find the truth. That's where you find the truth is whenever you're able to start questioning. That's what
Yeah,
I
and
think.
again, when you start questioning, I would encourage people to start writing things down because I do think that from a 3D perspective that there's a lot of stuff that we encounter in our 3D reality that prevents us from remembering, and it's the remembering part that's hard.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you look in a mirror, and as soon as you get away from the mirror, you forget what you look like. It's that
Yeah.
kind of thing. I think even the I know a lot of people don't really like it, but there are scriptures that actually say that you forget what you look like, you forget what you're about, and remembering what you went through. How many times are you going to put your hand on the hot stove and get burned? Cut it
I've
out.
been burned more times than I like to.
It is like I know, and relationships are a big part of that, but that gets on a whole different level when you're talking about that because that's like a law of attraction thing. That gets really complicated, man. Let's not go down that. So really,
Right.
getting back to what you said is maybe flipping it to saying truth because I think that is a filtered perception. Truth.
Yes.
So if truth is a
Yeah.
filtered perception and everybody trying to keep themselves reasonably protected and still grow, really what we need is discernment. Is that a better
Yes.
way of? I mean, that is kind of what that is our. People get offended when you say, oh, come on, the grass is green, the sky is blue. Well, where do
Yeah.
you live? Because that's not always accurate. You know
Right.
what I
I
mean?
agree. Yes. And I also think that another thing people have to come to an understanding of is there's no absolutes. So like one way is correct for another person. It doesn't mean that it's correct for you. And that's okay. Like you will find what resonates with you if you keep seeking it like wholeheartedly with your whole soul and true being, and while you're doing that and the more you become authentic, the more your abilities become unlocked because you're able to look at yourself very honestly. And I think that what happened for me, I started not listening so much to so many other people's stories and taking it on and trying to identify it as truth for me. But I would listen to people talk and I would think about, well, how could this apply to me or how am I different, or what do I think? Do I find this to be the truth or not? And if not, why not? And I think that people the best thing for people to do is to keep on trying, because there's going to be days like the most positive person in the world is going to have a fucking shitty ass day and decide like, fuck this shit, and they're going to feel like that genuinely. And it's like during those times, you should give yourself the grace that you would give anyone else who's having a bad day, and I think that so many people who are gifted have mental illness or struggle in that way because nobody teaches us how to be one of a kind and individual. Like that's something that we are all each learning on our own. And I don't think that anybody knows like everything. There's guidelines and there's people who are like scouts who can kind of guide the way. But as far as anybody having the absolute truth, you'll never find an absolute truth unless you're looking
There
deep in
are no
yourself.
absolutes.
There's no
Absolutely.
absolutes. Yeah. And there's duality in everything. And that's the very nature of our universe. And if it wasn't a dualistic universe, then the world would implode, like there's certain standards that are certain universal laws that are in play that I think that we have to take that into mind too. But everything that you send out, whether it's like a negative thought or hate or anything like that, it will come back to you tenfold. So that's something also I've learned too. Not like I was purposely trying to do that shit, but it's like when you, as I like have grown in my spirituality, there have been times where I might have felt jealous, or like, why can't I have that? And then the more I thought that way, the more it festered, and it created a reality around me, which made that the center focus, instead of allowing me to be the center focus and giving myself like the peace and the grace that I need to keep growing.
Right, right. And I think a lot of people say that, well, it must be nice to have a nice car. You damn Skippy, it did blood, sweat, and tears for 30
That's
years,
right.
baby.
It is dang nice.
Working,
That's why
working
you
60 hours a week and,
right.
doing what you got to do to achieve your goals. If this is something that you want, I didn't say I want to do this to get a car. It
Right.
presented itself to me because I did what I did, and I was the benefactor of that. I was able to go out and say, walk into a dealership and say, these are the things I want. This is exactly what I want to pay. Get the car, bring it here, and I will give you the check. And they
Like a
they
boss.
they were like, you know, so yes, absolutely. That's
Yeah.
exactly what they did. And I that was the first car. I had 3 miles on it, so it basically came off the line and onto the truck and in my driveway. You know what I mean? I didn't
Yeah.
ask for the car specifically, but this is something that I use the car for. I use it to do my job. I get to and from work. If I have to go to somebody's
Yeah.
house, that's why I was gifted the vehicle.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's like you said, you did, it wasn't your goal to start out and have like a nice car, but like because you were working hard and you were busting your ass, like the opportunity presented itself. And I think that the more we're willing to work hard for things, and like we should have the same passion we have for work, we should have that for within ourselves to find peace and
Right.
truth. And I think that's part of why that happened for you too, is because you've done so much work within yourself, for yourself, and you've made so many other sacrifices that maybe people don't see visually, but in yourself, within your heart and mind, what you've sacrificed and what you've done, and everything that you get, you deserve.
Right, and even though you use the word sacrifice, it's not necessarily even a
Right.
sacrifice per se. It's something that you don't find value to do. So somebody might think it's a sacrifice not to go out to eat, for, someplace to
Yeah.
eat every week. I don't do that.
Yeah.
That's just not part of who I am. I
Right.
appreciate the home life. I appreciate the roof that I have over my head because I've not always had that benefit. I've not always been, I've been homeless. I've been financially
Right.
destitute. And right, so you have to pull your sorry butt up from the ashes and
From
say,
the bootstraps and kick
yes,
yourself in the
ma'am.
butt.
And
Because
damn, I'm pulling my socks up because I don't even have boots. I mean,
yeah.
so yeah, I mean, and that's kind of even irrelevant in and of itself because it's all a matter of perspective and whatever you got to do to achieve your goal is great. My thing is being content with where you're at and giving appreciation. Again, that goes back to the car.
That's important. Yeah.
Giving appreciation and being grateful and showing gratitude. Not, I mean, I don't have to say, going overboard, but I do tell people thank you, for blah, 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 blah. And then I got people calling me up and saying, hey, this happened and that happened. Thank you for so much. I literally spent a half an hour on the phone with somebody on Friday afternoon. I'm sitting there going, shit, I got to get all this stuff done. And they're talking and it's like, oh, okay. But that person I felt like needed to express their gratitude. They did have a couple of things that were frustrating. And I validate that. I validate frustration, and that's a big part. Would you say I validate frustration, Selena?
Yeah, I think
Damn,
so.
Skippy!
Well, I that's another point that you just made that I think is important for the collective is like if you're wanting people to show up for you, be willing to show up for other people, you know, because I feel like you like this is a biblical scripture, but like it's based on so much more deeper other, you know, like places in history, like Egyptian stuff and all kinds of things, but you reap what you sow. So, like, if you want people to be there for you, be willing to be there for other people, like, show up for people, you know? And I think that when you start allowing yourself to show up for other people and you start allowing yourself to be a safe person for other people, then you start attracting those people within your
Yeah.
own life. It
Yes.
starts within.
Right, and here's the thing about showing up for other people, regardless of whether they show up for you, because when you show up for somebody, you have to make sure you protect yourself. But here's the flip side of
Right.
that:
We're
you
not
have to
talking
do this
about what,
without, yeah, you have to do this without expectation.
yes,
Do it without expectation, and it doesn't mean you're gonna get that coming back to you right
right.
away. It might take a while. I mean, it was when somebody publicly, said some nasty things about me. Uh, I said, okay,
Yeah.
okay, they're in a bad place, and I left it where it was. And then 6 months later, I'm not sitting there throwing that in person's face. I'm not saying anything to them, but I'm there to help them. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if they help me back. I don't
I,
want
I
money. If you're appreciative of that and you show gratitude for that, I hope you have a fabulous life. That's
me
all there
too.
is.
And
Period.
there's a difference though between allowing yourself to show up for people and then allowing yourself to be used and your boundaries to be
Yes.
violated.
Yes.
So the other thing that I think that people in the collective need to hear, because like since everybody has a part to give, like, you know, there has to be an equal exchange, you know, like not always, but you know what I mean? You can't be a martyr constantly and be putting yourself out there for people or somebody who isn't going to even think to like reciprocate that back, you know, because you can't pour from an empty cup. And I think that
Right.
what happens a lot with people when they get involved in like spiritual work or like
Right.
metaphysics or just diving into this stuff, it's like,
Right.
let me sacrifice myself, you know,
Yeah,
and
that
it's like,
whole martyrdom, there is no such thing as altruism. If people think that,
yeah,
I'm doing this because I need to give to society and they think that, oh, quit being a martyr, etc. And it's kind of like, yeah, you do not need to be a martyr. And there is no
no,
such thing as just giving and giving and giving. And I'll tell you why, because even when there is giving, you are not necessarily benefiting from it financially. What happens is my personal opinion with altruism. If you think that I'm going to give because it's the right thing to do, you have to be careful of not getting like it's kind of an extreme term, but like a God complex.
that's
You can get it, and you can get addicted to that. That people will come to you, and
and you're like, here
no,
I am, Selena on the cross. No, no, you can't do that.
no, you can't do that. That's not right, and that's not helping anybody. It's not helping anybody. You're enabling people, so be careful with that too. Yeah.
Yeah,
So about a lot of that, everything, if you think about it, everything, all these little things that we've just talked about, has everything to do with that level of discernment for each one of the situations that we can find ourselves in. So you want to just kind of use what you got in your hands and what kind of things that you get as far as intuition. I have to be careful because I don't want to say messages because I'm not really keen with that. I like the idea of knowing that we are connecting to ourself.
yeah, our highest selves. Yeah,
Yeah, and which to me is the source of everything. And people like to say
yeah,
put that as a being. I don't agree with that. If you're going to connect to something, you need to connect to yourself, which is the source of all.
yes.
You know.
I,
So so yeah, did you want to do kind of because we've never done that. I mean, we do this texting all the time, but
I,
what do you
uh,
feel awkward?
a little bit, but like I'm already nervous being on camera and stuff. So this is like you're the only person I would do this for, you know? Like,
So
oh,
here's the thing, though. That one of the conversations that we've had too is that I said, if I were to actually do some intuitive sessions with people, there's a good word, intuitive sessions.
intuitive session.
I would probably put the camera down towards the table at the cards or whatever I was using
Yeah.
because people can get distracted by what's going on in front of that camera, and I'll be honest with you, I get kind of twitchy.
Yeah. I never
I'm
see.
very animated. I don't know why it does it. I don't want to put my hand up. Damn, lower my hand, lower hand. That was
You
just kind of freaking weird. It recognized me.
you want me to pull card or for the collective, or
Yeah,
you
you can
want to pull
yeah, and
card?
it's about discernment. Building
Yeah.
discernment. What do we need to know about discernment for maybe some upcoming, I mean, even if you picked up something that was like regional or cuz like I said, I don't really do
Well,
TV.
do you want to do like a card pull on that Miami thing, or
Oh, the
like,
mall?
huh?
The
At the mall,
mall?
yeah. Yeah.
Discernment for the mall incident.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's my opinion. I don't think they're going to come up in the middle of the Miami freaking mall and just be like, we're here, and then like terrorize people. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, of course, they're going to make it look realistic because they want people, they're starting to mess with people's minds with this stuff because they know people are more and more recognizing and seeing these kind of types, these different phenomenons, you know?
So
And
so so here's the thing for me. When these are involved, when these oracles are involved, that there needs to be a separation because there. How do I even describe this? So there's this and this ego thing that tries to keep us safe, but there's also this higher self that has this connection to
and all
these
of,
to the all-knowing, to the Akash, whatever label you want to put on it, to this access to the field, right? So there has
right.
to be that separation. So
Yeah.
I step to the side, and maybe that's kind of why I get kind of twitchy. I don't know if you have to do that. So that's
Yeah,
kind of where
I,
okay. Oh, I put my damn hand up again.
oh, I thought oh, my phone almost.
There we go. All right. So yeah, do whatever you got to do to. It's fun. It's a good time. I'm gonna buy you a little stand for your phone.
I'm gonna need one, I guess.
So yeah, so okay, so we need some discernment on what truly was the motivation and happenings for that event. For that event, right?
Yeah.
You can go. That's fine.
This is the card I pulled for the Miami Mall thing. Three of Swords.
Okay.
And like what I get intuitively, because I'm not like professional, but like what I get from this is that like there's many different factors and influences in play here. And there's many people with agendas who are wanting to use this certain scenario like to their own end. And I think that as it's unfolding, I think that it's doing, the people who planned it, it's doing what they wanted it to do, you know, because there are the people who are like less awake, who are going to be like terrified, scared, freaked out, you know, and they are betting and banking on those people being so afraid that these people aren't going to go out of their homes. They're going to start staying at home, you know, they're going to allow themselves to be more controlled. And then you have the people who, say straight out, this is all BS, you know, and aren't afraid. And then you have the people in the middle who are kind of just figuring things out, who don't really know what's going on yet because they're still learning about themselves and the world around them. And like the truth is, there's nothing wrong with being at any of those stages because we've all been at those stages, you know?
Yep.
But I think that we need to have kindness for people who are like terrified, because I remember when I first started waking up, there was a period of time when I couldn't even leave my house for a week because I started learning about all different types of things, and it terrified me, you know, and it almost paralyzed me. And luckily, I was able to pull myself out of it. But I also know that like many people have a harder time doing that, and that there's nothing wrong if you do. You can reach out for help, you could talk to somebody about it, you know. I know that we're willing to talk to people about basically anything. So if anybody ever wants to talk, they can email me or you or get a hold of you on your website. Because I think we're navigating completely different times here. Like this is something completely different. Like we've never seen the world like this before, you know. And
Right.
my
And
and I
I think one of the things, though, too, is it is about deprogramming a lot of the things that we've learned through our lives, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to
oh
be
yeah,
fearful. I mean
completely.
that's something that if you don't know how to do, you have to figure that out because everybody's path, even for something as simple as that, is going to be different. I mean,
Yeah,
and I think this has a lot to do even as a kid. Figure it out. That was my
yeah.
dad. That was my figure it out. I'll show you how to do it, then figure out the rest. So
See, yeah,
I
I grew up
changed my
very
oil,
similar.
I changed my tires,
Yeah,
I
that's
did all that
awesome.
stuff.
Yeah, and that benefits you now because somebody was like, "I'll teach you once, and then you figure it, you know, then you have to figure it out." Because like, we can't be afraid to step out on our own, people. We have to be able to like stand up for what we really think and believe without worrying about who we're hurting or you know who we're offending. You know, because if you worry about that, then you're gonna be worrying forever, every day, all day, every day. And I know because I used to be like that.
Yeah, I think all of us have a degree of that, and that is the ego side of us, but we also, and this is where ego does kind of keep us a little bit safe here because you can't really expose yourself too much because, let's face it, you don't want to end up as worm food. You
Yeah,
want to be able to carry forward. You want to
right.
be able to do that for people. You want to be there to help people. But then again, you can't totally keep silent about things.
True.
That's got to be something where you do find that equilibrium. You do find that balance.
And I think there's a nice way to disagree, you know,
Absolutely. Yep.
and I think that
I know. It's just what it is, right? We'll
sorry
get you
people
we'll get you a little stand for your phone. I don't know what your circumstances are, but yeah, we'll figure it
next time.
out. Yeah, it's all part of it. It's all part of just kind of being here and looking for that balance within ourselves. I can't say that I have the ability to go out and talk to anybody about this. I was talking to someone last week and I said, "Well, when are you going to contact me so we can do a recording?" And I said, "Well, I have to be very careful. I did bring the book to work so I can read it. Um, but I have to be careful so people don't see it because, they already look at me like I got nine heads when I open my mouth." And
I
I don't really
understand.
say a lot of stuff. I try to keep things, lighthearted and work focused. Work focused. So
Yeah,
I don't usually talk about things. I have clients that do try to kind of pump me for information about my personal life, and you have to keep that to yourself. He's like, yeah, ego can really be a nasty little sucker, but again, it is there to keep you safe. So this is where the discernment comes in. And I think that whole mall incident, because everybody is in a different place, you do have to kind of just start talking to people about it.
yeah, yeah. I think one thing that helped me was I started asking myself, when will my behavior change, instead of why is it my behavior changing or why am I not changing this or that. I would ask myself, when will my behaviors change? And I would think about the things I wanted to change. And then I would map out a way to start doing that.
Right.
And you have to take it one step at a time, because you can't jump from A to Z. I mean, as much as we would like to, we can't, and it's all a journey and we're all just figuring it out as we go. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. Right. It's fizzy water, everybody.
Nice.
So yeah. So what other thing that you think that might be relevant? Because like I said, I don't get into all of the media hype. I don't get into the sensationalism. I don't get it. Hey, hi guys. I don't get into any of that stuff, and I know you kind of get onto TikTok, and that freaking site gets me wound up. I was like, go away, go away.
Yeah.
So really, a lot of the things. What do you think is more relevant? I know that there's a lot of political stuff going on, and some people are really talking a lot about the money system and about it going digital. And me personally, I don't like that idea.
I
Somebody
don't like
else
that.
talked about chipping. Well, you're gonna get the chip to make you live longer. No.
Oh, yeah.
Are you going to
No.
get the chip to fix this? Are you going to get the chip to do that? No, I don't want any chips. I like the organic me, as best as I am organic. That
I
doesn't.
think
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, I think that there's a lot of messages we're receiving in our society right now saying that we need to like enhance our bodies, our minds with technology whenever we are the greatest technology. Like we are, like within our vessels, our bodies, and our souls, we are capable of fully healing ourselves. We are capable of fully being self actualized as we unravel the programs that have been set upon us before birth. And so, personally, I think that a lot of those chipping type things are part of a transhumanism agenda. And so, for me, I personally don't trust that type of thing and would not want to participate in anything like that. But I think another important point to let people know is that everyone at any time can get redemption. Like everyone deserves redemption at any time, no matter where you're at, no matter what you've done. If you want to change and you want to become a better person and you want to stop what you're doing and learn to be better, you can do it. And there are forces in this universe that will assist you and help you to do so.
Right. I've always said this. I mean, this. As many people don't like religion. I think a lot of the things that I learned through religion has really helped me. In the fact that there are little things, nuggets of, I mean, they're just pearls of wisdom, like how to heal yourself. And we've been programmed to believe that we have to go to somebody else to do that, and that's not necessarily false, because we have to learn how to do it properly. And doing it properly is not taking something artificial and putting it in the vessel. It's learning how to
Right.
detox the vessel, correct
Yes.
what's in the vessel, and
Right.
correcting the chemistry. One of the biggest chemical producers are your thoughts.
Yeah.
So
And
that
thoughts
that
are things.
but those are the little that they say, oh, it's a chemical factory. And it's the chemical factory that I'm thinking of is kind of like that's what is gonna create. It's the thought. It's not that the chemistry itself, it's the thought. Where does the thought come from? That comes from outside.
Yeah.
Maybe your higher self, maybe these other influencing energies. I'm going to put it that way
Yeah.
because I don't like it's hard to put labels on things because people get fixated on that. And
Yeah.
no, I'm not Illuminati, dudes.
I'm
You
not
guys gotta,
Illuminati either.
yeah, you gotta look at these. These are mudras, okay? So I think we had this conversation. These are
Yeah.
mudras. These are things that you can look at. You can look at, and because we have all these energy points in our hands and our bodies, they're spin points where when you do certain things, it changes the energy points and other aspects of your physicality. So I learned, how did that guy do it? This will, if you do this, one thing to do is take a deep breath and see how you feel. And then you do this and take a deep breath and see how you feel. It's two fingers. So 2 fingers. There you go. So this should help. You should notice that it's easier for you to breathe.
It is easier to breathe.
It's bizarre, but these are subtle energy bodies. I've not taken any classes that Matthew Mornian has on Remember Your Mission, but I would love to, because I think a lot of the subtle body energies are going to be key with us being able to be our own med bed. I think that's going to be huge for us.
I can tell you personally in my own spiritual journey that when I started to stop focusing so much on watching everyone else's stories and start utilizing certain tools, such as like Matthew Mornian has some videos where he clears meridians and stuff, and I started learning how to do that and researching more on my own how to do that, and listening to healing frequency music that helps a lot too. You have just like starting somewhere, because like there are tools out there that will help you, and they will help propel you to the next step of where you're wanting to go, and it's okay to use those, and whatever you use for you, whatever tool is good for you, you'll know, because you'll know how you feel, how it resonates with inside of you.
Yeah, that's and everybody's going to have a different starting point. Everybody's going to have a different sporting part. Yep, because and I think I had this conversation with you and with somebody else yesterday, I think, where it's like, even though we may have had similar experiences, we talked a lot about the things that we've experienced in our own life that's very, very similar, but it's also very, very different.
True.
But we can still relate to a lot of the things that we've had to experience from our unique perspective. You're going to be unique to other people that you find that you have in similar or different aspects of what we have that you can also, and I think it also relate to, but it's all for us to learn and expand. I don't like the idea of people saying an ascension, because that to me says this. This to me says expansion
of consciousness,
and kind of think about what that means. It's not like you're okay. So when you blow, I used the balloon analogy yesterday. When you blow up a balloon, you just have a balloon and you drop it, and the balloon drops to the ground. That's still the balloon. If you're the balloon, okay, you blow the balloon up with your breath, tie the knot in it, and it's going to slowly fall down.
Right.
What happens if you take that balloon and you filled it with helium?
Sometimes
the volume's going to be same. Density is going to be different. The contents are going to be different. And the expansion. So if you took that balloon that has the air in it that previously dropped and you filled it even more with helium, it's going to still expand.
Yeah.
And it's going to be lighter. So it's not necessarily about volume. It's about the content of what you're having in this vessel. I personally don't want to physically expand. I mean, I could easily just eat more pizza.
Right. I like brownies, so I like sugar a lot. So I could expand too.
We are a complete meal. I'll have the pizza, you can have the brownies.
That's fine with me.
So what do you think is about this whole idea of the collective for a med bed? The collective, what would the collective benefit need or benefit from? Because I don't like the idea of saying what you need to know. Bullshit. You're not telling me anything that I need to know, because if I need to know, I'm going to make that determination. You aren't going to tell me I need to know whatever you got to say.
Right.
So what would be helpful? What would be helpful to know about how we can become our own med bed?
Well, I think that one of the first things that we would want to do is to find our out. So this is how it works for me. So I found out what areas of my life I felt like the most frustrated in, and I felt the most lacking in, and I started exploring the reasons why. Now, were the reasons why I felt the way I did because of how I actually felt, or were they imposed onto me by other people in a grander scheme of a society who is trying to make you conform into a certain way? Because I think that when you feel like when you get to a point where you're feeling like, oh, I'm never going to measure up, I'm never going to do this, it's because there's some type of parameter that's been set that you have no idea, like you didn't set that parameter, but those parameters were set for you because as human beings, like we are creatures of imitation and we are relaying and like,
Are we aping? Are you calling us apes?
I mean, I don't
Monkey see, monkey do, baby. Monkey
but
see, monkey
not
do.
exactly, but I think that we get stuck in feeling like we have to be this way or that way, and like, and if we're not, then there's something wrong with us, and oh my god, like something's wrong with me, and it's like nothing's wrong with you. You're okay. Like it's okay to be different. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah,
And
my
I
good
think
thing
that
is embrace the weirdness.
yeah, let that freak flag fly. Like man, I let mine fly all the time. But yeah, you gotta let it fly, let it rip, let it ride. But
So yeah, I think though too that what you said's good as to what worked for you. But for
yeah,
the med bed aspect, for that literal aspect, and it could be mental health, it could be some illness that you've been diagnosed with. It's maybe even just your thought life that's what you feel like you need to work on. So,
yeah.
what do you think that the universe or whatever it is through those cards that you have in your hand, what do you think that what would they tell us? What would they tell us? Now, I know you're super duper intuitive and you don't necessarily need the
Yeah.
card itself to tell you because
Well,
I've said stuff to you and you come right back and it's like laid it all freaking out on the line, and we're not talking about generalities, guys. We're talking about very specific detailed shite about people that I know right down to what they look like.
well,
So
yeah. But
you're that pinpoint on that energy. So
well,
don't whitewash that. And I know that you like to use the cards, and I think that that's like a comfort thing. What I've seen people do is they'll get like when the question's asked, they can get something intuitive, and they can use this tool to either get an expanded idea on what you received or the imagery can sorry, the dog's trying to climb in my lap and
that's
I have an armchair here and she's
oh, oh, how cute. Okay. She's trying to
no.
take you down.
Yeah. No, but I mean my point is that you're intuitive enough to the
Yeah.
point that this should be used as an augmentation to your ability as opposed to, well, let's see what the cards say. I think it should be the
Yeah.
opposite for you. Let's get some
Well,
clarity on it. And here it is.
yeah. So like, I just kind of started using the cards really a lot more because I usually do most of my readings just by tapping in. Um, but I mean, I don't know everything. First of all, I don't know everything, and I never will. And I am no authority on what you should do and what you should be. You know what I mean? That's never going to be who I am. But my advice is, and this is truly how I feel about like the whole med bed thing, start looking around, start paying attention because the universe is constantly whispering to us in our ears somehow, some way. And it uses so many different things, nature, like programs on TV, other people, like everything, like it's like everything that you're thinking inside of here is being pushed out. And so all the questions you have inside of you are being answered constantly in so many different ways that we don't recognize, because it's really hard for us to hold our attention in that way, because that's why they have so many distractions, like honestly, like on TV, in the movies, on social media, in politics. They want to disconnect us from our divine truth and our divine knowing of what's going on, because if we felt more secure in ourselves, then we would be able to see and recognize the signs around us, and we'd be able to hear them more readily. And so I think that for people who are wanting to like heal themselves, I think like you just have to start having a conversation with yourself about it, and you have to like understand how worthy you actually are, because we are all like divine sparks of God, and God is love, and in order for you to heal yourself, you have to sometimes you have to do some things that are really going to be hard for you to do, like change some difficult patterns or behaviors. And I think that that takes time to understand, and it takes getting to know yourself better in order to do that, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I can use nature as a as kind of a very relatable sort of analogy, because I actually read this several years ago that that when you plant a sapling or a very small tree, and you've seen people put the stakes in the ground and they tie it up. The dog's shaking the camera. She's right here. And you tie that tree up. And it's okay once the ground settles to keep it there. But if you kept it there, the root system is not going to be as strong, and the tree itself is not going to be as strong. Because what happens when the wind takes that little stick and it moves it back and forth, you're actually building that with that wind, you're building the strength of the tree. It's going to dig deeper into the it's going to dig deeper into the earth. And the other cool thing about it is that plants, trees, and these things don't grow when the sun is out. They grow when it's dark. They grow in the storms, and they grow when it rains. They don't grow when it's a beautiful, sedate, lilting little breeze. They grow when the shit's coming down.
They grow through it all, and just like we do, you know. And I think another good thing for people who want to be their own med bed, and I think like those techniques, those tools, they can be beneficial for people, you know, absolutely. But I think that start looking yourself in the eyes and telling yourself you love yourself, you know, like really get deep inside of yourself. And even if you don't believe it at first, you keep telling yourself more times than not, then you're going to start having major changes.
Yep. And the thought life is a huge way to, and you can flat out, this is the other fun thing, because your subconscious doesn't really know the difference. Thank you, Aginost, for kind of hammering that one home. Is that just, you got to put it on a positive twist. You say, I don't want whatever. Put whatever tag you want it. Okay. So the universe doesn't hear the not; it just hears the want, and then whatever you want to put it. So I don't like my work. All the universe hears is I like my work, and that you have this really intense feeling around it. Well, let's give them more. So you have to figure out. You don't have to necessarily to continue to like your job, but you have to consider changing your perspective on where you're at. And again, it goes back to that whole perspective of gratitude. And
I think
that changes the brain chemistry, and that changes that law of attraction thing. And I mean, you can get into a whole bunch of other things that are also involved in it. Well, I've already done that. Well, there are other things that you do. It's not just a one thing. Sorry, peeps, no silver bullet, because everybody's
going to take a level of commitment, you know, like if you truly want to be healthy, like it's going to take a commitment to yourself, and that's going to take some time. And I also think other things that are good are visualization practices, like visualizing yourself fully healthy, because like you said earlier, your brain doesn't know that what you're visualizing inside of you is not your reality, you know? And I
Yep.
think like more that we are creating our inner world to match what we want or what we desire or what we, what we feel like we need, then the more it's going to manifest in our reality.
Right. And I think a couple of things that you can do to help yourself do that, vision boards are a great way to do that. Another thing is writing it down. You don't have to write it down every single time, but you can write it down at least once. What I do is I have a small book. I will write down a manifestation or something that where I'm going to get ready to kind of clear all the superfluous, all the energies that are not really mine, and I kind of allow them to kind of hang around. Just kind of clear them all right. Thanks, guys. You can go sit down and relax, have a cup of coffee or something, relax. And I like to just kind of sit for like, it takes me like 5 minutes to go through this affirmation that I'm going to really get in contact with my higher self. And I can kind of feel the shift physically, and I can audibly, I can hear the shift changing. And then the other thing too is writing things down, but also speaking them out loud, not just thinking of yourself. So you're also gonna, I dictate into my phone. There's a butt ton of stuff on my phone. It's just amazing how much rubbish I have in here. But I mean,
Or
there's just
please,
you just have to draw in all of the senses that are involved in this. Writing is hugely important. Physically writing things down, hugely important. I got like 10
yeah.
notebooks.
Well, and I think another thing too is like you have to allow yourself to do things that you like that, like help you be creative or make you feel joy inside. Um, Now my phone's about to die, so it's going to be a lot worse. I'm trying to fall down.
Yeah, you're all right.
Yeah,
So,
sorry.
yeah, I
But
mean, it is what it is. We make do with what we've got. I think one of the things that we would like to try and do, we're going to try and coordinate this with doing some lives. We might do another recording, I don't know. But we're going to try and do some lives and take some live questions.
oh, that's going to be cool.
Yeah, so we kind of talked about that a little bit, and we'll do that a couple of times. It's not going to be like a forever thing. We might do something fairly short, like within an hour, and then we're done and dusted. What we would like to try and do after a couple of those are done is do something that's like a donation basis during those lives to kind of see how we go. And then we might do something like a private group,
Oh, okay, that's
like a
cool.
private group reading. And then that way we can go ahead and Selena and I would split whatever you guys feel is appropriate. I don't know that you've necessarily I think that your talent for what you have that you kind of downplay will be very, very evident. And I think we both, it's a very subdued self-deprecation. I'll put it that way.
Yeah,
Because I
that's
think,
definitely something I'm still working on right now is learning how to like love and trust myself and allow myself to be in the spotlight because it makes me really, really uncomfortable.
but it's not
And I've
necessarily
always
even
been,
the spotlight, Selena. It's really acknowledging and blossoming our gifts. These are gifts from my higher self, from the unified field, that we have this ability. And I don't want to use the word channel, but it really is a live feed. It's a
yeah.
live feed that we get from that unified field.
Oh,
There's
for
stuff
sure.
that I haven't talked to you about, even in our texts and stuff, that I have gotten that's like blown me away.
Oh, I know.
So, and
Me
I
too.
know you've told me about the organite stuff that I've worked on, and I told you about the things the gifts that you have, your art, your books. I think that there's a lot of
Thank
books
you.
inside of you.
Children's books.
Children's books, yeah, they're absolutely phenomenal. And I think
Thank
that if
you.
you do need any help with focusing on something like that, there's resources available to everybody. And it's going to fit within whatever suits you at that given point in time. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah. So yeah, I think that that's something you and I can kind of. So what? Your email is Selena writes.
16 at gmail.com.
You said 16, right?
Yeah, the number is 16, 1 6.
Yep.
And if anybody wants to email me and ask me questions or just talk or you just need somebody to listen, then they can.
Yep.
Feel free.
Yes, ma'am. And of course, I'm on YouTube. I have my own website that has all the contact stuff in there. There's so many projects that I feel like I'm being inundated with.
You're very, very busy and you're very, very gifted too. Like you have so many talents and gifts and like it's exciting to watch you like also like blossom into them too, because I know it's almost scary sometimes, and a bit overwhelming.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have to tell you, I was that kid, literally and figuratively. I'm at the front of the roller coaster. That's me. That's
Right.
me. And I'm going, woohoo! So, I'm in the deep end of the pool without the water wings. And if you knew anything about me, I'm not a fan of water. I'm not a fan of deep water, scares the bejeebers out of me. I don't know what a bejeeber is, but I don't have any because I've been
But
scared
if
enough.
you had them, they'd be scared out of you.
That's a fact, man. So yeah, I think with a lot of the projects that I'm gonna interview a few people. There's no guarantees. I know, Selena, but I really hope you're able to make it to
So,
Tucson. We're gonna go to the gem show. I'm for sure. I've already purchased my airfare. I have a hotel that is most accommodating right there. And what I really want to do, and I've already let Augie Nost know, I want to have dinner with him and I want
oh,
to give
that'll
him a
be
hug. I
cool.
want to do a selfie with Augie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
he's been
cool.
very inspirational. The only other person I would have to say that really was the impetus for all of this was Omar on Watchers Talk. I
I
can't
love Oman too. And
absolutely.
Augie.
I get the warm fuzzies. The F and BSers that come out of him, and I think that this is something that's very very important. May I? Are you okay with me pulling something?
Yeah, of
Okay,
course.
because I think that this is something that and I know Omar says it's witchcraft. It's whatever. I feel like it's a unified field. It helps us. I'll try not to get twitchy.
Well, it depends on your intention too. So you're obviously not trying to use it as witchcraft or some
So
kind of
yeah,
dark nefarious purpose.
it's all about putting the self aside. It's all about putting the ego aside and having no fear. It's all about tapping into the unified field and asking what the being of all has that's most beneficial for us. And I'm sorry, Omar, but you are the impetus for all of this for me because you gave me the ability to talk to Augie and speak and read what was in his book. And it's really pushed me to opening my heart and mind and spirit to everything that all there is. So I would like to know what was going to be most beneficial for all the collective that would run across this at the posting and in moving forward. What's going to be the most helpful for everyone?
And that's very beautiful. And I'm sure they're going to love hearing that because that's lovely.
So this
No,
is the most benefit. So if you open your heart and you open your mind, you will receive all that there is to be offered. As far as abundance goes, you have the stability within yourself. You have access to everything that already is. Financially is represented here by a coin. I know some people like to call it a pentacle, but this is a coin. So not only is the wolf there, but the wolf also has her cubs.
Yes, and
So
the wolf is
there's a level of ferocity and protection involved. The
yes.
and this is for your family. This is to look after not just you. This is a generational thing for you to open your heart and your mind to everything that all there is that the universe has to offer for you. Thank you ever so much. That was awesome,
Beautiful.
Claude.
Yeah.
So when we do these Zoom meetings for these group readings,
Hmm.
we're gonna do something fun.
Okay.
We're gonna do
I love
this.
those cards.
I mean, these are the best freaking cards ever.
They
And
are.
because, it's got to be with this too. So,
Fuck it, shit.
so I really find like that if you're pulling from a pure heart, if you're pulling from pure intention, that's what you get in return.
Oh,
And
I
I
absolutely. It's all about your intention.
So I really believe that the only reason that I'm in contact with Selena is because of Omar. So I thank Omar. I
We
thank
met.
the universe for coordinating this.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. I love Omar and I love his channel. I've learned so many different things from him just watching him and listening to him interview people, you know? He's amazing.
Yep. And then,
Look forward to a series coming back on with Augie and you,
well,
right?
let's see. That's gotta that's Omar's choice. He
Okay.
has to be ready for all of that. And he's a very passionate man.
Oh yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So yeah, that was cool. That was
Very
fun. Do you want to pull a general reading too for the collective?
sure. I was just shuffling, but I will. This is a general reading for the collective.
General reading for the collective.
I'm just going to pull one card and then interpret it based off what I think. Seven of Cups.
We got a
So,
lot of options, bro.
yeah, and I think this is so representative of how like uniquely different and like diverse like we are as humanity, and how there's so many things that can lead back to the same thing. So even though your path may not look the same as mine or hers or that other person down the road, it doesn't mean that you're not going to end up in the same place. It doesn't mean that you aren't going to find fulfillment and joy and love and security. I think that there's so many pathways to finding it, and that we're all so uniquely different that we should be celebrating our differences and doing that instead of pointing out, well, why isn't this person like this and why did they say that? Like, no, let's chill out, like let's help people find their path, and if we can help facilitate somebody finding their path, whatever they're interested in, then we should help them do so. And that's what I think it's
Absolutely.
about. All gonna get there. We can all make it. There's no
Yep.
competition unless you make it a competition.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. All right. Well, cool, y'all. Well, thank you ever so much, everybody. I hope we're able to do this next week. And we'll kind of. Oh, you have a large piece of selenite. Because, I
I am
told you
Selenite.
your name is like Selena. So it's
I
selenite.
am Selenite.
You are selenite. Maybe you came from the moon.
Maybe I did.
And yeah, so I have my two guys here,
Walk
my
process.
wands. Does this look like it's warped?
It doesn't look warped to me, but I have my eye on that blue one, so I'd like to buy it.
So yeah, these are the Reiki. These are the Reiki and the healing tools that I'm working on. These are both prototypes. We'll see how that all works out. Lots of things on the plate for both of us. So hopefully we'll be able to do this. I don't know when we're going to do this again. I'm going to try and post this within the next couple of days because today is Sunday, the 14th, January 2024. But thank you, my love, and we will talk to you soon.
Hi guys.